Sure.
Hi, everybody. This is Caleb Melchior with the EmergentLive Blabcast. I'm excited to have Leslie Halleck today as my guest. Lindsay Kerr will also be joining us at some point variously through the evening. You can feel free to drop your questions in the little right-hand box on the side. And Leslie, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Well, I'm a horticulturist, a professional horticulturist. I have about 25 years of experience in the green industry. I have worked in many segments, from public gardens, research, about 14 years in retail, landscape, you name it. So I've sort of run the gamut. I started out in art school, thought I was going to be an artist my whole life, and spent my first couple of years in art school at university, and then switched over to botany, so in plant ecology, so finished my bachelor's degree in that, and then went on to get a master's degree in horticulture. Throughout college, worked a number of years at garden centers. So by the time I had gotten out with my bachelor's degree, I had a little over 4 years of garden center retail experience, and was also running my own little landscape company, and spent about a year doing that post graduation, and then based on my industry analysis and career analysis, decided I needed to go back for a master's degree to do what I wanted to do. So that took me up to Michigan State for floriculture, and from there I ended up in charge of collections and research at the Dallas Arboretum. That's what brought me to Dallas, and then on to other assorted jobs until end of 2012, when I jumped ship and just took Halleck Horticultural full time. So.
That's awesome. Here's Lindsay. Hey, Lindsay, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going? Can you hear me okay?
You're all here.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Cool.
Leslie was just giving us her bio and short story of her amazing planty adventures in the world. Leslie, do you want to pick up where you were going?
Oh, I don't know. It's a long, convoluted story, so it really depends on how much else you want me to talk about. My personal or professional experience. Obviously. I think there are a lot of issues in the industry in terms of professionalism, and how professionals in the green industry present themselves, stand on those credentials, and really kind of earn the respect that I think we're all looking for in the industry. So hopefully more people will join the conversation, because it's a conversation that needs to be had, and I have a lot of opinions about it. So not opinions that everybody always wants to hear, because they're hard. So, I don't know if any of the folks that are on board now want to just jump in with some questions, or if there are any specific questions more about my background or how I started my business or anything like that, maybe we can jump in there.
Sure. We don't have any questions dropped on the side, except that Karen's already demanding some karaoke from you.
I meant to bring my speaker up from the car so that I could have some background music on demand, but I left it in the car, so she might have to join in later and oblige.
So one of the things, I think a question that I've had as I've been hearing you talk and looking through your website is that you've talked a lot about how you have done personal analysis at different times in your life of the state of the horticulture industry and how you could get a good return on your investment. Do you want to talk a little bit about how you went about doing that, how you've done that process?
Yeah, I think an important statement to make for people is to understand that, having a passion doesn't entitle you to an income. Having a passion or wanting to express yourself artistically, however it is that you do that, doesn't automatically mean you're going to be able to make a living at it. So, taking a passion and turning it into a profession requires a lot of work and diligence and time and effort and strategery, if you will. It takes some business acumen. So, one of the things I think people need to realize is that no, you're not owed an income for loving plants. No, nobody is, you can't expect anyone to pay you because you love plants. You might love gardening, you might love plants, you might want to work in the industry, but ultimately, when you decide to take a personal passion and turn it into a profession, you have to realize that you're transitioning from self-indulgence to service. And it's no longer about what you want, it's about what you can provide to the marketplace that there's a need for. And I think one of the reasons why people in our industry struggle so much is because they want to kick back and rely on the passion part of the equation far too much, without understanding that nobody really cares how much you love plants. They want to know what you can do for them if they're going to pay you, whether that be your employer or whether that be a consumer. So, I think that you have to be analytical about your profession, even if it happens to be a passion. And I think too often people are too quick to assume that means that you have to have your job in order to make good income. And I completely disagree with that. You can be professional and strategic whilst working in the field of your passion or choice. So doing analysis is something that I think everybody needs to do. So I know one of the comments you posted to me was, well, where can I go to find out, what everybody's going to make or what I could expect? And I'm going to say to you, well, that magical site doesn't exist. You're going to have to do some legwork. And I'll also say that back in 96, 97, when I was in grad school doing that analysis on whether I should take a PhD or not, I barely had the internet. When I was an undergrad doing my bachelor's degree, I never used a computer, y'all, not once. I didn't have a computer. I didn't have the internet. I didn't even have an email address when I applied to graduate school. I used my boyfriend's email address to send in all of my stuff. So the way I did that initial market analysis is called job hunting. Okay? You look for where jobs are posted. You talk to people that are posting jobs. You look at the salaries they're offering. You look at the requirements. And then you have to compare what you bring to the table to what people are asking for professionally. And that's a very good way to figure out whether you need to go on for continued education or another degree, right? So you have to look what the market is demanding from you in terms of credentials to be able to analyze whether it's going to be worth it for you to get another degree, right? And then same thing, I was getting my master's degree. At that point, I got heavy in, kind of computers and internet exploded at that point. And, I got heavy into technology. But even so, in 96, 97, what's on the internet today was not on the internet yet then, so we didn't have as much content. But I was still able at that point in time to search online and find statistics on the length of time somebody was going to spend in a postdoc, salary levels for different positions based on job listings. There are actually quite a few sites online where you can look to compare salaries in the green industry across the nation. And many of the industry publications actually do analysis on that and publish it.
That's great.
So you guys are going to have to do some legwork and get online and do some research. And that information is out there. And ultimately, that research led me to turn down a PhD slot, a very nice PhD slot that was offered to me at Michigan State by Dr. Royal Hines. And I'll say thank you again because he was amazing and awesome. And it would have been, really a great experience to do that. But in looking at the marketplace and looking which jobs were paying what, the average length of a postdoc for somebody with a horticulture degree or a science degree at that point was 6 years. Okay, that wasn't time I was willing to spend in a glorified grad student slot because I didn't want to work in academia, right? So you have to figure out where you want to work, what kind of job you want to work, and are the extra degrees just to serve your ego, or are they going to help you actually do physically what you want to do out in the job market? I did need the master's degree, absolutely, to have the career I've had, to get where I am and to do what I do now. Without that master's degree, I would not be where I am. However, I didn't need the PhD.
Right.
and I earn better without it than I would have with it. So, work, digging, get online. There's a ton of information out there that you guys can use to compare, the types of jobs that are out there in the market now, and certainly trends about where things are going to sort of predict where the job market is going to be in the next 5 to 10 years as well.
Definitely. Lindsay, do you have anything you want to jump in on in this area?
So kind of related. A couple weeks ago, you posted a response on Facebook, and it made me want to ask you about this. So, as a kind of a field, we seem to be striving to convince consumers anybody can garden.
Right.
But as a professional horticulturist, I don't want everybody to think that they can garden at the same level I do. I want respect, and I want people to realize that professionals are professionals. That the homeowner can't do exactly what we do, and we deserve to be paid more. So how do we, as a field or an industry, kind of deal with that? Wanting everybody to buy plants, but then wanting the respect for our knowledge and skills.
My very quick answer to that is gardening is a hobby, horticulture is a science and profession. And when we, as people in the industry, use the wrong terminology to describe what we do, we self-sabotage. I'm not a professional gardener. I'm actually not a garden entrepreneur. I'm a horticulturist. I'm a professional degreed and certified horticulturist, right? That has the education, credentials, and experience to back that up and differentiate me in the marketplace. There is a culture in Great Britain, okay, that values the word gardening, that values the term professional gardener, okay? This is the United States. We are not the UK. That term does not translate here. When you tell someone you're a professional gardener, you instantly devalue yourself because of the poor perception of value that we have created in the marketplace, okay? So anyone, well, I won't even say anyone, many people can garden at home as a hobby. That is not the same as having a career in horticulture, which is a science, okay? That's why I am very adamant about speaking up about my opinion about master gardeners versus professional industry members. They are not the same thing. And you will never hear me associate master gardeners with professionals in the industry, because it's not only wrong, it's actually not allowed by master gardener programs, and that has been misused, misapplied, and we as an industry have perpetuated that, and that hurts us as well. Anytime as a professional horticulturist somebody asks you, well, are you a master gardener? Okay, you're going to get a mouthful from me, because I don't feel the need to be polite about that anymore. And as plant people, we're all expected to be nice. We don't want to hurt anyone's feelings, and so we let people walk on our professional credentials. So number one, you guys have to stop doing that. Seriously. Okay, stop doing that. And then you have to look at, really, so, and you guys also have to understand that everyone is never going to garden. We're distracted by the shiny object over here that says we all have to get everyone to love plants and gardening as much as we do. No, we don't. We don't, and that's never going to happen, and that's okay. That's good, because if everybody was as invested in plants and in horticulture as you are, you would work yourself out of an industry and a job market. Okay, so exclusivity through education and credentials is a good thing. Gardening is a hobby, horticulture is a profession. So we as an industry have to start to modify the things that come out of our mouths in order to distinguish ourselves. So if you want to keep calling yourself a professional gardener, expect to be treated like someone who customers expect to make $11, $12 an hour. Okay. Is that good enough for you? Probably not. So are you a professional horticulturist? If you have the credentials to back that up, then that's what you need to call yourself. Or a professional landscape designer with credentials, or a landscape architect, or whatever it is. The professional titles and credentials matter. So everyone is never going to love gardening. and that's okay. And the reality is after having spent 14 years in garden center retail, the thing you learn is that plantaholic home gardeners make up, for me, about 3% of my customer base in that industry. Okay? The rest of your customers are casual gardeners or homeowners that just want to keep things looking nice. That doesn't mean that we should value them any less as customers. Just because they're not gardening addicts doesn't make them your target market. Okay? So, people that are decorating with plants, in my opinion, are just as important as people who garden regularly in terms of who I need to serve in my profession, right? So you are never going to convince everybody to love plants and gardening, and I don't think that's where the focus should be. I think you guys are wasting energy there. I think if you focus more energy on building your own credentials and building up the perception, right, and the persona of what a professional horticulturist does that's different from what a home gardener does, I think that's been my strategy, and that's what's worked for me. So I'm a horticulturist that also happens to be an avid gardener, okay, but I'm not a professional gardener. That's not my profession. I have a few science degrees that I spent 8 years in school getting, and I have board certified certifications, and I've spent 25 years working all day long, almost 7 days a week, invested in a profession. That's very, very different from having a little bit of home gardening experience and deciding that you want to call yourself a professional. It's never an equivalent situation. So I think that, again, focusing back on transitioning from self-indulgence to service is where you have to go when you want a successful profession with your passion, right? Again, it's not about what you want anymore. When you want to get paid well, it's about what does the marketplace need from you? What does the general public need from you? What do gardening customers need from you? And it's your responsibility to find that niche and make yourself valuable to people who want to pay you. And does that mean that there's going to be things you have to do in your profession that aren't your favorite parts of your passion? Of course. But you have to be willing to do that if you want to not complain about what you get paid anymore. Right? So most people don't get to have it both ways. And so it's about living a creative life and expressing your passion, but also filling a market need in a professional manner that serves somebody else's wants and desires. So it's not about making people love plants and gardening. It's about finding out what resonates with them that they can connect with in our industry and making it work for them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I guess kind of related. So I'm an estate horticulturist. I work at a private estate. And my impression over the past 18 months has been that there are lots of wealthy individuals who employ horticulturists. And it seems like in the US, we don't have the knowledge or appreciation of fine gardens. So when I say I want to be paid, say, $25 an hour, they are happy just to go with the gardener because they don't know what their landscape, their garden should look like or can look like. So they're happy to go with somebody with fewer credentials, and they'll take the poor product because they don't know they can have something better.
Well, I work with some estate gardens here in Dallas, and I'll tell you, I don't think people are as happy with those low bid results as you might think, because I see a lot of poorly executed work, and I see a number of individuals getting tired of what they're seeing on their properties. And you, as a professional horticulturist, it's your job to educate and put your foot down to a degree about what you're going to accept and what you are not. And we have to be willing to walk away from work that does not suit your credentials and the pay grade that you need to make. If you are always fearful of turning away work, then you will perpetuate your own situation in terms of low pay and that of the industry. So until collectively we decide to put our foot down and demand what we're worth, not in a combative way and not in a snotty way, but in a way that educates and differentiates to customers why they would have to pay you more. Now, you have to realize that if someone's going to be happy with subpar, unskilled garden labor, okay, where their boxwoods are always sheared to hell at the wrong time and the St. Augustine grass is always mowed too low, so it's patchy and full of brown, and you name it, the irrigation's not, I mean, believe me, I've seen it all, right? You know, there are people that get tired of that. But you have to stop working for people that are happy to settle for subpar work. You are the wrong person for that job, right? And until you're willing to walk away from it, that situation's not going to change in your marketplace or in your own personal career or profession. It's not an easy answer, but it is unfortunately what we have to do in order to raise the bar. Okay. Now, one thing that it's also your job to do is inspire. It's to inspire confidence and to inspire clients to aspire to a better quality of work. So I don't know what your relationship is with your employer. I don't know what types of things you do with them. If you look at images, if you go through garden magazines, if they show you images that inspire you, I don't know if you do that, but that might be something that you want to try to encourage to open up their minds to what they could have versus what they have at a lower price.
I know it looks like Lindsay's dodged out for a second, but okay. Something that you've been really active and have done really well in your business is communicate value through a lot of different media channels. Yes. Do you want to talk a little bit about how, some ways that you've personally found have been really effective in communicating your value to your audience, or a strategy like a combination of visual, because you use photos, you use text, you work in a lot of different markets. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, so the main focus of my business essentially is to support green industry businesses and to work on perception of value and to educate consumers in order to lift up the price point, okay, for what green industry companies charge. So for clients, we write a lot of content, whether it's blogs or advertising copy. We do, non-traditional things. We do conventional things in marketing through all types of media channels, be it really good responsive websites. Okay, that's really important. That is your digital doorstep to the world. If you're outdated digitally on your website, you're already behind the curve. Whether you're blogging, putting out content for customers on a regular basis, whether you're using social media, whether you're engaged in LinkedIn, traditional advertising, radio. We actually do quite a bit of radio for clients. It's very effective, but you have to know your market and you have to know your target customer to determine which media outlets are going to best reach those people. So those all apply to you as an individual. So I manage brands and clients within the industry, right, from behind the scenes. I lend them my expertise, right? Their name goes on it. But I also have to manage my own brand as a horticulturist, because I do direct consulting and I do a lot of writing for industry. So I write a lot of articles on a monthly basis for different publications, the GIE group, Garden Center Magazine, Greenhouse Management, Produce Grower. I have to keep things up on my own website. I do a lot of professional speaking engagements. I don't really do talks for garden clubs or anything like that anymore. I only do every once in a while as volunteer work. Again, because I don't do talks for $50. Mm-hmm. Ain't gonna happen. That's volunteer work, right? Yep. So I will volunteer my time to the public sometimes to do those things. Video, podcast, blab, like we're doing right now. It's called exposure, right? You have to have exposure. You have to put yourself out there, and you have to do it in as many different mediums as you can manage with quality. And that's how you inspire confidence in your knowledge and credentials and capability, right? The degrees are crucially important, in my opinion. The hands-on experience is crucially important. The two of them put together differentiate you. But then if you don't get yourself out there, so, one of the reasons why I ask questions on the Emergent page and try to pull people in is I'm actually trying to give you guys some name exposure. I'm trying to help you get your name in print and include, like I included Lindsay in my last Garden Center magazine article. I'm trying to throw you guys some opportunities to get your name out there and get some exposure. I don't think you guys realize how valuable that is. You have to professionally network and put your brand out there as a professional in the industry as much as you have to do it for your employer, right? As much as you have to do it as a part of your job or whatever it is that you're doing. You as an individual professional have a brand. You have a personal and professional brand that you have a responsibility to represent with quality, as many places you can manage, because that inspires confidence and builds credibility and helps you build a career. That's the thing. Careers don't happen overnight. Somebody on the Facebook page, we were kind of talking about degrees, and I commented, about being strategic and analyzing what you really need to do. And somebody posted that their biochem degree or something like that didn't help them at all in the horticulture industry, and that it could help them like in plant breeding or something, but that would take 10 years to build a career. Well, duh. Really? I mean, does someone owe you a career when you graduate college? Sorry, folks, that's not the way it works. That's your first step. A degree or really good hands-on experience for a few years is your first step. And then you have to work to build a body of work.
Right.
So, Lindsay, you need to be building a portfolio, right? You need to be building a body of work that you can put out there and represent to potential new clients or, new employees down the road, things like that, the clients that you want to capture. You have to build that. So why would you expect to be able to build a career in plant breeding in less than 10 years? That's not realistic and doesn't make sense. And, it takes really anybody a good solid 10 years to build up enough experience to get to the point where people are really going to have confidence in you in terms of being an experienced professional, right? So, that's just something that you have to build on, put yourself out there, be willing. Now, here's the funny thing. I'm an introvert. I'm chatty one-on-one, but I have to physically force myself to, and Nikki will tell you, she can comment. She has to make me do stuff all the time. I have to force myself to go out and give talks. I have to force myself to blog. I have to force myself to get on exchanges like this because it's not something that I naturally want to do. Mm-hmm. It is a professional necessity. So again, if you want to be paid for your passion, you have to be willing to do things that a professional has to do that you might not want to, right? I don't know if I answered your question, but I talked for a long time.
No, you definitely did. And I think that breadth of exposure is the thing that a lot of people struggle with understanding. And it's partly that you've got to just have a go at things and try a lot of different things, especially for success in our industry.
Yeah, you got to get out there and try. You have to put yourself out there, for sure.
And do you have a way, I know Lindsay and I have been doing some readings on different professional development courses, and one of the things that's talked about is managing risk. So one of the things I know I recognize that you did in your career is that you've kind of tried little side businesses while you're working at Dallas Arboretum or working somewhere else. Do you want to tell us a little bit about how you managed that and what made you, what were the things that really got you excited in branching out? from?
Well, yeah, so definitely, I mean, if you want to be your own business owner, okay, if you want to be an entrepreneur, one of the, again, nobody owes you, a living for your passion or what you want to do, right? You have to create it, you have to build it. And so absolutely, while I was building a rich career working for other companies like the Dallas Arboretum, like North Haven Gardens, all of which offer me the most valuable experience, that's what you have to look at. You have to look at your end goals, and then you have to take jobs that are going to give you the type of training and background and experience and exposure that you want to meet that eventual goal. Okay. I really believe in that kind of strategy. I mean, yes, when I work for somebody, I'm 200% in. I'm a workaholic. So, when I, was working for the Arboretum or working for North Haven, I mean, I was all in. Okay. But that didn't mean that I gave up working on my own personal goals, business goals, brands, side businesses, right? And that's really kind of the best way to do it for most people. You need to have a job, right? That pays the bills, not only pays the bills, but builds your knowledge and experience that you can then take with you. That's the thing, when people complain about their jobs, and we all complain about our jobs. We've all complained about our jobs, but ultimately, your responsibility. It's not your employer's responsibility, period. It's all yours. So you have to, if you're in a situation that maybe you're not crazy about, you got to look at it and say, okay, well, what am I gleaning from this that I can use either in my side business or, my next endeavor, and try to get what you can out of it so that you can translate that into something else. I'm an artistic person still, and I've had side jewelry businesses, and I was actually so busy. I had so many orders, I couldn't keep up with it. So that was successful, but I had to pick because I had so much going on. And I've always consulted on the side, previously mostly residential and such. But every one of those things that you do helps you build up a body of knowledge and experience that you can apply, when you really decide to, like Thelma and Louise it. That's just what I did, But I didn't do that until I felt that I really couldn't go any farther working for other people, and that I had built up enough of a body of knowledge and experience that was useful in the marketplace, that had a dollar value attached to it, that I could help fill a need in the industry, and that I could market.
For sure.
For sure. And so, the last 8 years that I was working for somebody else, which was North Haven, I mean, retail is business boot camp. And Carolyn maybe can chime in on this. I know she's on here. Retail, people complain about working garden center retail a lot, but let me tell you something. If you really want to get an education fast, on plant material, on business, on how to work with customers, there is no better venue than IGC, Garden Center Retail. And yeah, you're going to work for less money than you think you should get, but man, are you going to learn a lot. Yeah. You're going to learn a lot. And so you have to take that and use it. But it takes time. But yeah, absolutely. I'm a big proponent of when you have a core job, experimenting on the side with what you can do on the side. Just understand that it takes a lot of time and effort, and it's not easy to do that. But it is totally possible. And I think that that's really what's most feasible for people. Maybe you're working in horticulture, but your passion is really art, and you want to, you're working in horticulture because it's the job you ended up with, but you really want to do something else, right? You have to keep at it in addition to your job.
For sure.
Right. And create those opportunities and keep building the skills. And I can't emphasize enough the power of professional networking. Making connections, that's hugely important. And so these jobs that you have afford you that opportunity to make those professional connections that will ultimately be the gateway for you to growth in, your current field, or progression into a new one, or a better job, or whatever your goal is.
Definitely.
And flexibility. So Nikki was mentioning be flexible. Yeah, that's the thing, is that you've got to be risk management. Okay. So on the one hand, I'm very analytical and strategic, but I'm also not risk averse. And if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you have to have a risk tolerance. You have to have a fair amount of tolerance for risk, financially and otherwise, and you have to be money savvy. So, and Nikki's point is be flexible in your career. What you think you might do right out of school might not be your best path. That's absolutely true. You have to be willing to try new things. And, when I went to graduate school, I went to graduate school to work in public gardens. Okay, well, I did that. I did a 5-year tour of duty at the Dallas Arboretum, and I decided that nonprofit was not for me. That was not wasted. The getting the degree for public gardens and that time was invaluable. So it was not wasted. And I decided, okay, I can go back to retail. I can do landscape. I can do these other things. So you can't get so attached to one idea or whatever your original thought process was about your career was going to be, that you pass on really good opportunities to learn and grow.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what would be, for someone who's thinking through their next career steps, or somebody like Lindsay or somebody like me, what are some of the business skills that, or what are some of the ways to start to develop those business skills that we might overlook as somebody who's an experienced entrepreneur? What are some things that you wish you had known, or that you wished you had taken the time to learn when you were younger?
Well, I don't really say I have any regrets of wishing that I had learned something sooner or done something different. I feel like I had a good progression. I think the thing that I was probably willing to do early on, and I was only 26 when I took over as curator at the Dallas Arboretum and, in charge of research, director of research. And so I got a lot of things thrown on me. You've got to be willing to sink or swim. Managing people is crucial. Okay. It is the toughest thing you will do. It is more challenging than crunching numbers, right? And being able to have confidence in your business skills. A willingness to take on some managerial duties and functions that maybe you don't feel qualified for. There is a huge element of fake it till you make it if you're going to be an entrepreneur. Seriously, I do it all the time. Ask Nikki. It drives her nuts. There'll be things that come up and I'm like, oh yeah, I can totally do that. And then I have to say to her, it's like, okay, now I got to figure out how to do it. I got this, but you have to project confidence. And I never say that if it's something that I don't really think I can figure out how to do. Right. But so far, not to say that I haven't had some missteps or things I would have liked to have done better, but you have to be, Nikki said she's like managing 5 people. She totally is 5 people. I stopped managing like 60 people and I got 5 with her. So, so taking on some managerial oversight duties. I see a lot of people resistant to do that. I don't want to manage people. All right, well, then you don't get to be paid more.
Yeah.
That's your choice. So if you want to move up, you have to be willing to do some things that you're afraid of or that you feel you're not qualified for. So what? At 26, was I really qualified to, be hiring and firing people? No. And did I make mistakes? Yes, but you gotta put on a jacket of courage, and you can't let fear guide your decision making. That's a huge thing in business, right? You cannot let fear guide your decisions. If you're a buyer at a garden center, you can't let fear dictate your purchasing. And that happens a lot. You can't let fear dictate your career path. Business skills wise, if you have some side ventures, that's a really good opportunity to learn things like how to read a P&L, right? A profit and loss statement, how to budget, how to manage your accounts in QuickBooks. So having a small business. So let's say you do a little bit of consulting or a little bit of garden writing or something on the side. you need to set up a separate business entity for yourself. Okay. And you need to run that income through that side business because it's small and it's manageable, but it gives you a little incubator that you can use to figure out, oh, you mean I have to get that license and I've got to register that. Oh, and then I have to do this different on my taxes. Oh, I have to manage right? That helps you learn those things along the way. And then if you're working for a company that, is willing to let you take on a little bit more of a managerial role, you will get sucked into, the numbers. Buying positions are really good boot camps for learning how to manage numbers and cash flow. There are a lot of really good free courses online. If you go to edx.com, oh my gosh, I'm taking like astronomy classes there. Like I've got time to do that ridiculousness, but you can take business classes. You can there's a lot of things you can do online now that I never had access to that can teach you some basic business skills. So using your little side business as a little incubator is a great idea. Being willing to take on more responsibility at work is another important thing. And you have to be fearless. Yeah, you have to project confidence and fearlessness. It's okay to be afraid, but you have to be willing to put yourself out there. Yeah. I don't know, the peanut gallery there, Carolyn and Nikki are having.
No, they're having a field day over there.
Yeah, it's funny. I basically in this whole session talking to an ex-employee and a current employee, so they've heard all this from me a million times. So I was hoping to get a few newbies on here. I think Blab is still scaring some people a little bit, but hopefully we can help them out.
Well, we've got a couple of people kind of lurking. I can see Taylor. Okay. Taylor's on here watching us, and a couple of other people who I know are early on in their careers and getting businesses started. So this encouragement should be good. I would love it if
they would ask some questions. I mean, I'm doing this for you guys. I'm not doing this for me. I'm busy. I have a lot of things to do, so all my time is money. Pretty much. That's the other thing you learn when you go into business for yourself. All your time has monetary value, period. So this is volunteer time for me that I'm contributing right back to the industry. Definitely. And so, if I can, if be fearless, if there's any lurkers on the page that have a question to ask, this would be, you have me captive. There's only a few of you here, so would be a good opportunity.
Lindsay, do you have any other questions? You're back with us.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I could see you guys. I guess I disappeared. Let me think. I guess I don't want to use it as an excuse, but I live in a rural area, and it is so frustrating trying to network. And I wonder if other people are dealing with that too. I try and do it, but I guess I'm in the point in my career where, I feel like I should be further along than I am. And I'm trying to do all these things, and I just feel frustrated. And I guess maybe I just need to wait and be patient.
Need to wait. You need to be aggressive. Again, you have to create your career. So it's not going to happen, right? It is not going to happen to you, and no one's going to give it to you. It is something that you have to create. So I don't know what your limitations are in terms of moving. I don't really know any of your personal circumstances, so I don't know what your options are there. But we were talking a little bit earlier about other exposure and willingness to do other things. I mean, those of you that are early on in your career, you are going to have to volunteer some of your time. You are going to have to do things for not a lot of money. You are going to need to go talk to garden groups for $75. You are going to have to do those things, and I would encourage you to do that. The thing that you have, even living in a rural area, is that you have this internet, massive. I mean, I'm gonna be like a cranky old Gen Xer right now. You kids, we didn't have this. Imagine how we had to network with no internet. Okay. So if I've managed to put together the kind of career I've put together with no internet, until, basically finishing grad school, you guys can do this, right? You have this amazing ability to look up anything you want to, talk to anybody you want to, tweet them, Facebook them. I mean, you guys have a platform that I didn't have. And to me, the opportunities are endless. I don't know if you're interested in writing, Lindsay. I don't know if you like to write. I don't know if, what your other proficiencies are. But I think you need to start doing some of that. You need to start volunteering yourself for some of that work. I don't know. If you do any, other than your estate job, if you do any other residential work for anybody besides that job? And you may not be.
I don't. I'm employed 40 hours a week. I do volunteer. I would love to speak and I'd love to write, but I don't know how to even get that started, I guess. I mean, I have done speaking engagements in the past, but I moved 18 months ago and I haven't figured out how to get that going where I am now.
40 hours a week, okay, so entrepreneurs, they say we're the only people willing to work 80 hours a week to avoid working 40 hours a week for somebody else. So the reality is that it's going to take more than 40 hours a week for you to build a meaningful career. That's just the reality. So as long as you're only investing that 40 hours a week for somebody else at your job, you're probably not going to experience much personal professional growth. You're going to have to put in some time on the side. I would suggest that you maybe solicit a few extra little consult design jobs, whatever it is in your wheelhouse of skill set, in your area. I always ran Halleck Horticultural as a separate business at all my jobs. Okay. Unless you have a contract that precludes you from operating a sort of semi-competing service, there is no rule that says that, just because I worked for the Dallas Arboretum or North Haven Gardens, that I could not also maintain my consulting business as long as I was thoughtful and ethical about how I conducted myself in that business against the needs of my primary employer, right? So, I think that if there are some other opportunities in your area for you to pick up some extra work. Now, if you do not want to work any more than that 40 hours a week, then you're probably going to find it tough to grow beyond that unless you find a different job, that better meets your needs for 40 hours a week. But I mean, I can tell you right now, as a business owner, I work way more than 40 hours a week. Anybody who thinks that having your own business means that your time is going to be freed up shouldn't be in business for themselves, right? Really, it's done. But you know what? I wouldn't have it any other way because I'm the boss. I do what work I want. I take what clients I want to take. I don't work with who I don't want to work with. I say no, and I walk away from things that don't fit my dynamic. I walk away from people that don't fit my dynamic. And I'm willing to work more hours a week for that. But that's my choice. If you don't want to do that, it's probably going to be a little tough. And that's the thing. So your job is your core base of experience building, and you're going to have to go beyond that. I would suggest, if you want to do talks, looking up, what garden clubs are in the area, what groups are around. Offer yourself up, find a contact, email them, just say, hey, I would love to come speak to your group. Are there topics that your group would be interested in hearing? Put yourself out there. Sometimes you have to make yourself known, before people are going to invite you to do things. So it's not easy, but yeah, Carolyn says old school. We had to talk face to face. We did. Yeah.
So how much would you kind of push? Like you offer to speak to a garden club and they say, oh, that'd be great. And then they kind of drop it. Do you keep pushing or do you just say they're not interested?
No, what I would typically do is you've offered it once, they followed up, you don't hear back from them. You might give it 3 months, follow up with them again as a courtesy, and then leave it. They're either going to accept it or call you back. But the thing is, you have to understand that that's a relationship building opportunity. And you never know when those people are going to call you back. It might be in a year. And all of a sudden, hey, I have a neighbor who needs A, B, and C. It's like it becomes the rubber band, the ball that just gets bigger and bigger. When you start doing that stuff, you often end up with more work than you actually can handle, because how many real professional horticulturists are there? How many? Not many. Not gardeners, professional horticulturists. Okay? We're kind of like unicorns, but we don't treat ourselves like unicorns because we don't want to seem egotistical. Yeah, get over it, I mean, really, you got to stand on you worked hard for what you have, right? And you're going to continue working hard for it. Why don't you get to stand behind your professional skills and credential? And why don't you get to assert that? Gardening is not the same as horticulture. It's just not, right? Sure. My neighbor's garden, they're not professional horticulturists, okay? They have career. See, I think the thing you guys have to remember is that people who garden have careers. They're accountants. They're bankers. They're in advertising. Do you think they're going to be comfortable with you co-opting their profession with no skills or credentials? Why is it okay for us to let people co-opt ours? I don't get it. Because we're nice. Because plant people are nice. And we don't want to seem snooty or egotistical. Those are my degrees that I hang out. I put all of it all out there, for everybody to see. You know what? Because it means something. So you can't hide your credentials and your profession and what makes you special and then expect people to value you the way you want to be valued. Doesn't work.
All right. Well, we're running up on getting close to our hour, and Leslie, your time is valuable.
It is.
So this is
really expensive. I'm going to send you an invoice.
Oh, goody. We'll have to all pool our dimes through Emergent. Do you have anything that you want to plug while you're here, besides through Example?
Oh, well, I actually just signed a new contract with Timber Press for a book on indoor gardening, lighting. Like, I'm not going to get into the real science of lighting and very cool setups and how to grow edible crops, all sorts of things that people that maybe don't have a lot of space or don't have a year-round garden season, things like that, to really kind of push that hyper-local urban gardening edible movement. So just signed that this week, and so I'm going to be working on that, and that'll be for consumer public consumption, right? So that's for my brand, that's going to be out there for the gardening public. I'm sure industry people, who want to learn more about lighting and indoor systems may also find it useful, but that'll be to the general, public. But obviously I'll be working on that for the next year. But I'll be, because I am in horticulture marketing, I will be pre-promoting that. I will be pushing it, promoting it, and looking for collateral opportunities around it, because you don't make money on gardening books. That's the thing you guys have to understand, right? So it's all about everything else that you generate. In terms of everything else I'm doing, it's all industry, specific. So, that's all proprietary to clients. I will be at Cultivate. So I'm giving a few talks at Cultivate in the marketing, kind of business marketing genre. I'm doing the town hall panel. I'll be giving a talk at Perennial Plant Association on digital relevancy. And so lots of stuff going on. You can always hit my website, lesliehalleck.com. I'm so busy updating everybody else's that sadly mine doesn't get updated as much as it should be, but you can always hit that up.
And you're also on Facebook, Twitter, all the usual.
Yeah, I'm on, it's just at Leslie Halleck, so you can catch me on Twitter. Halleck Horticultural is on Facebook. You can find me on LinkedIn, Instagram. I post most of the stuff for my own garden on Instagram, and that's just at Leslie Halleck. What else? Carolyn, Nikki, they could probably fill in whatever I'm leaving out. But yeah, I'm out and about in the digital world. So.
Okay, well, thank you for your time. I'm gonna pause the recording, and anybody else, any questions?